Hi, welcome to another endorsement interview with the Times Editorial Board. Today we have two candidates for Porter County Sheriff. We have Dave Reynolds, who, as you'll recall, was sheriff prior to Dave Lane. And we have Mike Brickner, who you should know is police chief in Valparaiso. I'm Doug Ross, editorial page editor at the Times. Also in the room with us, we have Bob Heiss, editor, Deb Ansom, our general manager, John Scheibel, Porter County editor, and Brian Vernellis on the other side of the lens as always. Well, thank you. We should probably talk a little bit about, very briefly, what's your background and what prepares you for this job at this time. Mike?
Well, I've been with the Valparaiso Police Department for 28 years. I've been the chief of police there for 12 years. During my time with the police department, I've been a certified radar instructor, DUI instructor, public information officer, field training coordinator, field training officer coordinator as well, training coordinator. I'm a graduate of Ball State University. I'm a graduate of Northwestern University Police School for Staff and Command. I'm a graduate of the Police Executive Leadership Academy. I currently serve on the Porter County Safe Schools Commission. I am a member of the Indiana Northwest Academy Board of Directors, also a member of the Indiana Association of Chiefs of Police, Indiana Accreditation Commission. I have served as past president of the Indiana Association of Chiefs of Police. During my time with the Valparaiso Police Department, I was recognized as Police Officer of the Year on two separate occasions. I am a recipient of the Indiana Association of Chiefs of Police Leaders Leader Award, which is given to the top law enforcement CEO in the state of Indiana. I am also a recipient of the Mental Health Community Service Award, which is given to individual who received that for my commitment to mental health within our community by Porter Stark. I was recognized as a patriotic employer in recognition of employee support of our National Guard and Reserve Force. And also this year, something I'm very proud of, but I was recipient of the Sagamores of the Wabash, which was given by Governor Pence. During my leadership or my time as chief of police at Valparaiso, we have been recognized as one of the premier police departments in the state of Indiana. In 2004, our department was recognized by Calumet College as the Police Department of the Year for implementation of the First Child is Missing program in the region. We were recognized by the International Association of Chiefs of Police for being one of the top 10 police agencies in the world and a finalist for the Weber-Seavey Award for implementation of our Valpo Alert notification system. And in 2010, we became one of only 13 police departments in the state of Indiana to become accredited to the Commission on Law Enforcement Accreditation. And I'm proud to say that in 2013 we received our reaccreditation for that as well.
Okay, Dave?
I have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, lived in Porter County most of my life. I have more of a professional interest, but a personal interest in the safety and security of this county. I'm a graduate of Indiana University, Bachelor of Arts in Bloomington, and I received my master's in public administration from IU Northwest. I have over 33 years in law enforcement. I have, I believe, a successful career in working undercover. 18, 19 years as an investigator, involved in and instrumental and involved in the arrest of 2 serial murders while I was a detective. I was promoted to the captain of the Detective Bureau and also selected as the Portage Police Chief. I've been elected twice by the citizens of Porter County as the sheriff of this county. which I take very seriously, and I'm very proud of that fact. I'm an adjunct professor at IU Northwest and taught almost every criminal justice program while I was there. I've also received several awards, some of the similar of my opponent, American Legion Policeman of the Year, Portage Policeman of the Year, Porter Stark. I think addressing not only what I've done, but what our department was doing, even with Portage and the Sheriff's Department. And I think I took those awards with the understanding that it was not just for me, it was what the department was doing at the time. I mean, I've been described as progressive and innovative. When I became a police chief in Portage, I started the first SWAT team. I put canines in all the shifts. I put computers and laptop computers back then. Now it's kind of everyone's doing it, but at the time it was very innovative, putting laptops and our goal at the time, and I didn't finalize that until I became the sheriff, was to make a more of a collaborative approach with law enforcement as far as data is concerned, and how we share our data, and ultimately to keep the officers safe, and that was our main objective. I take pride in the fact that I am innovative and I am progressive, and I believe that as throughout my career, I think if anybody looked at my career and what I've accomplished, I think the underlying theme of who I am is that I motivate and I delegate, and I teach and pride myself that the officers that we hire, that they should treat people and talk to people like they want to be treated and talked to. And it's kind of a simple philosophy, but effective one. Technology is good in law enforcement, but what I've learned is that we can't lose sight of what's really effective and what we need to do as far as being a crime fighter, and our ultimate goal is to keep this county safe. I think my background and my experience working with drugs as an investigator, as an administrator, not only in the Sheriff's Department but in Portage, is developed me of who I am today. And I know it's important because when you go in there as a sheriff, you have to make decisions, on the spot decisions, and when a crisis develops. And I know I have the proven background in the record that I have made those decisions, whether when I was in charge of the SWAT team. When I became sheriff in Porter County, we developed another SWAT team. So I've actually created 2 SWAT teams. And what's the ultimate reason for that is to protect the county. We've started the first crime scene team that every department in this county uses, and I'm very proud of what they've accomplished. But it's constantly trying to innovate and trying to make with our ultimate goal of keeping this county safe. And really, that's what as a chief law enforcement officer, that is my goal every day, is to keep the county safe, because every person in this county has a right to feel and be safe, whether at home, work, or at school. And we can never lose sight of that. That is my ultimate goal.
Okay. One of the key questions for the voter will be, what's the difference between the two of you? Mike?
Well, one difference is that what I bring to the table is current relevant policing. I've been in law enforcement for 28 consecutive years, and police work is continuously evolving. We don't do police work the same way we did it 8 years ago. We don't do police work the same. It's not the same as we did a month ago, and sometimes it changes. It's different this week than it was last week. As far as fiscal responsibility, there are too many challenges facing our county. Too many challenges facing our county to have the lead law enforcement officer of the county that is not up to date on current technology, current training, current new techniques. The way that we respond to incidents is different now. The way that we communicate with the citizens has evolved. Community programs have evolved. And so what I bring to the table is current relevant policing. And I think that's one of the major differences. Another one is how to go about addressing our drug epidemic. We aggressively are going after drug dealers and users that commit crimes in our county. The manpower at the Porter County Drug Unit has doubled since I've been chief of police, and it's a very effective unit. And we have to continue to work, and we do. We work with state, federal, and local law enforcement agencies. We're on the front lines with this drug problem. But one thing that we have to look at, and I think another thing that differentiates us, is that we have to only continue to aggressively go after the supply, but we have to also focus on the demand for drugs in our county. And that's where I have a plan to be able to get to our young people. And statistics show that young people are responding to police officers, giving instruction on life skills training, decision making in the significant years of their lives. And this is a long-term plan to also go after the demand of drugs in our county, to make sure that our young people are making good, sound decisions. And we do that here in Valparaiso. We have police officers involved in our schools. A department our size, we have 2 full-time school resource officers in our school. Before my term as sheriff is over, and I don't like to make promises, but I can pretty much say that every school in Porter County will have a police presence. And we're going to have a program to implement by police officers to go after and talk to and get to the hearts of our young people. That's a long-term solution as well. So we have to not only look at the solution of arresting people, being on the front lines, being aggressive. We have officers out on the toll road doing drug interdiction on almost a daily basis, and we're doing that. But we also have to focus on the demand of drugs in our county as well.
Well, first of all, I have been, the last 8 years, I've been working in the private sector for an international security company. During my job descriptions, I was initially hired as an investigator, and I'm doing that, but I'm also working as I have a partnership. The company I work for has a partnership with the Department of with Customs, and I am the only person in the whole entire Fortune 100 company that does the inspections and the of the vendors and suppliers for that company. And the reason I mention that is that what I do is that I do the CTPAT inspections, which is Customs Trade Partners Against Terrorism. During my last year, I had a unique experience of being in, working with all the embassies, many of the embassies in South America, Mexico, Canada, and Europe, trying to make sure that our supply chain is secured. I've had a unique experience of working with a lot of the police departments in Mexico. I just worked a case in Brussels, Belgium, with the police there. So I've had an opportunity to see from an international perspective of how law enforcement is, not only domestically, but internationally. I was instrumental with the prosecutor, the district attorney in the city of Birmingham, to recently write a legislation that's, I think, one of the best scrap legislations in the United States. So hopefully we can introduce this to Indiana, because scrap is, I call it scrap, but what we're talking about here is people stealing, copper and catalytic converters. I mean, they're not only happening in Indiana, but it's happening throughout the whole state. So we developed a legislation that if you look at the numbers, since we passed this legislation in Alabama, the thefts of copper and the related precious metals have drastically reduced. So to say I'm not current of what's going on, I think is an understatement. I've been described as old school, and I've never been described as old school. In this election process, I've been described as old school, but I think throughout my whole career, it's always kind of given me a chuckle because that's one thing I've never done. But I gave it a lot of thought, and there's part of me that is probably old school because I believe that law enforcement hasn't really changed too much in 100 years. Our objective is to arrest the bad guy, and you use the technology that you have to accomplish that mission. But really, how you arrest bad guys mainly is hard work and good police work. And I know I think without question, if you look at my career, no one could ever question my career in law enforcement and knowing how to do that. What separates myself from the opponent is he describes himself as a CEO. Well, I look at it, I work for a private company right now that has a CEO, and they're also insulated by a board. A sheriff doesn't have that luxury of having a board. A sheriff has to make instant decision in times of crisis and need. I think I've described myself as a law enforcement professional, a crime fighter, if you will, someone that in a time of crisis knows how to make that decision to make this county safe. And that's a clear distinction between myself and him. I don't think I need an outside agency to come in and accredit me. Because why? Because I know the rules and regulations that I developed when I first became sheriff have continued on through the time of Sheriff Lane. And I take pride in that. And I don't need an outside agency to tell me how to be sheriff because I know how to be sheriff. And I know how to lead, and I know how to make the decisions, the immediate decisions when those decisions have to be made. Regarding the drug, I believe that in my background, when I first became a policeman, I spent most of my first 4 or 5 years dealing with drugs. And my son's a DEA agent. I think I have a very close pulse of what's going on. And numbers, sometimes you can't discern how we're fighting crime in the drug problem by using a calculator. And when I worked in the drug unit and I was young, we made the numbers too. But I'm telling you, the numbers aren't reflective of what really needs to be done. What needs to be done is to identify the demand argument. There's merit to it, but what needs to be done is that we need to identify the people that are bringing in drugs in this county, and we know where they're coming from. They're coming from Chicago, so we need to partner. And to say we need to continue to work with state and federal local agencies is wrong because we're not continuing something that we're not doing. I know personally that we are not working closely with the feds in Chicago and in Maryville. I've spoken to the people that run these agencies, and there is not an open communication between the Porter County Drug Unit and the Drug Enforcement Agency in Chicago and Maryville, and that will happen when I become sheriff again. We need to take a more aggressive stand. To have our RSOs or research officers, response officers in each school is, sounds good, but I don't know where all the manpower is going to come from. I started when I was sheriff. I put liaisons officers, which they still have in every county school system, and from my contact with these administrators of the schools, it's a program that's still working very effectively. But getting back to the thing that really means a lot to me is this fight on drugs. The problem with the drug problem is when you speak to the coroner, he'll tell you the problem too, because he sees the bodies and he counts the body counts. And these aren't just kids; these are citizens that are. We're having too many citizens in Porter County dying of drug overdoses, and we need to do something about it. Because if you look at what's being done right now, obviously it's not working. It's not working. So we need to do something different. We need to take a much aggressive stand. It's easy to sit back and say, well, we're gonna, we can find the solution in a book. Well, it's not going to. We have to hit the streets. We have to identify who is causing our problems. Why are these kids going? How are they getting these drugs? And talking to the agents in Chicago, they see the Porter County plates. They see it daily. That's what needs to be done. And I think if we take a more collaborative and we respond and we have a much better, closer relationship with them, then we can make, there's not a question that we can make a difference. And it's not going to be an easy solution, and it's not going to be an overnight solution, but it's going to be a solution that we will get to, and we're going to go to in a right direction.
One thing
Are we allowed to make a correction to somebody's statement?
very briefly.
Well, to say that we're not doing certain things is an out-of-touch comment. Being current in what we're doing right now, I mean, that's the position I'm in. And to say that our judges and our prosecutors, our law enforcement officers on the front lines, our parents, our teachers are not doing anything is an out-of-touch statement. That is, very passionate about our drug epidemic, and rightfully so. We do have an issue. But there are ways to, there are aggressive ways to go after it, which we are doing now, but there are also long-term solutions that at this point, the county sheriff, who should be the lead law enforcement officer of the county, is not doing. And that's what I will do as county sheriff, is also look at a long-term solution as well. But to say that we're not doing anything is not an accurate statement.
Okay, we have time for just one more question, just a couple minutes left. What would you do differently at the jail, Mike?
Well, the jail has been mismanaged since it was opened up. I was the lead person in building a multi-million-dollar facility for the city of Valparaiso, and the responsibility of that facility fell on my shoulders as the chief of police, as the CEO, and I do consider myself a CEO. And the jail, because in my opinion, I'm a taxpayer of the county as well, and from the moment that jail was open until just recently, until the threat of a lawsuit under the administration, up to this point at the county jail, it's been mismanaged. A third of it not open because of lack of vision, lack of proper planning for staffing, and then to piecemeal it, over time, and now costing the taxpayers additional money to rehab it, to get it to where it's operational again at the threat of a lawsuit to the county. As just a citizen, I don't think that's not right, and that is not good leadership. That jail needs to have proper management. You have to be able to use creative staffing, creative scheduling, which is what I bring to the table. We're in a fiscal, the county is very fiscally challenged right now, and we understand that. And good leadership is to be able to work within a budget and to utilize the resources that are available to maximum potential to provide a service to our citizens. And the jail falls under the responsibility of the sheriff, not under the responsibility of the county council, not under the responsibility of the county commissioners. It falls under the responsibility of the sheriff. And to say that it's somebody else's fault, that that it wasn't opened like it should have been, that it wasn't staffed properly, when it was open, it is irresponsible. And as sheriff, I will take responsibility. Again, I was in charge of a multi-million-dollar facility for the city of Valparaiso. We moved into a new police station, and that fell on my shoulders to make sure that facility, when we opened, that I didn't just come to the taxpayers who we were asking to pay for this facility to say, well, we're only going to open half of it. I mean, that fell on my shoulders, nobody else's. And that's leadership, and that's what we need at the County Sheriff's Department right now in regard to the jail.
Okay, Dave?
Well, I think we need to get our facts straight. When I became sheriff, we had a $33 million bond that was approved by the commissioners, not the council, not the sheriff. When I walked in there, they had a design that was the old jail. We redesigned the jail. They gave us 6 weeks. So we redesigned the jail. We saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars that can be disputed on how the layout and the operation of the indirect supervision that we instilled then, and it's still carried on today. At the time we were getting close to moving in, I was informed by the county council that they didn't have any money to operate the jail. Is that poor vision, poor leadership? I don't think so. Maybe those questions should be asked to members of the county council and the commissioners that didn't have the foresight to approve a $33 million jail, but not have monies appropriated to actually operate the jail. So we needed 20 officers to move in. They gave us how many? None. So I had to go out and get a federal grant to house federal prisoners. That money that was given to me and given to the county allowed me to hire 11 jailers, and which I did. Those 11 jailers was not what we needed, but it was enough to get to 2 pods open. We obviously could not open 3 pods. We did not have the manpower. But because of my vision and what I did to secure that monies, we were able to open up the 2 pods. I was then actually generating money by housing federal and state prisoners that offset the operation and the maintenance of that jail for several years. And then the county then assumed the monies that I was making. And they then assumed the 11 jailers. Just recently, the National Institute of Corrections did a survey, or they did a review of the jail. And the Department of Corrections is credited, and they inspect that jail every year and have given it rave reviews. So for someone to come out and say that it's mismanaged, they need to look at the inspection reports of how that jail is. If you walked in that jail today, it looks like it was open yesterday. And that's because of the good leadership and the personnel that's working there. You know, if you look at the national, which I have a copy of it, when they came in, when the NIC, the National Institute of Corrections, came in to review the jail, when they were looking at opening a 3rd pod, they interviewed all the police chiefs in this county and the judges. And my opponent was one of the persons they interviewed. He at no time said that jail is mismanaged or had poor leadership. He actually gave it rave reviews, as everybody else did. Because why? Because it deserved rave reviews. Now what they came up with is that the jail needed 9 more jailers. Well, it's kind of funny because we said that years before, and really the 20 jailers that they needed was really as a minimum. You know, they needed the proper staff. You know, so I'm real proud of how that jail was built, how the indirect supervision philosophy that we started and we still carried on. And just the programs that we started. When I started there, we had a part-time, and we all know that 95% of the male population in that jail have substance abuse problems. 100% of the females at any time have substance abuse problems. We had a part-time person who was doing a great job with the substance abuse program. We took that program and the monies that I was generating from that jail, and we went to 2 full-time staffs with Porter Stark, something that now is up to 3 full-time people because of the substance abuse problem. And everybody in that jail knows if they're basically judged on what they do every day. They all want to get in that program. There's a waiting list to get in that program. Something I'm very proud of. This is the reality of the problem of substance abuse inside and outside of our county. And the jail is like a litmus test. It tells you your social ills. It tells you we have domestic problems, violence problems. We have child molesting problems. We have drug problems. But for anybody to suggest that jail is being mismanaged it's ludicrous. I mean, really, let's see the facts. You show me anyone that can go in there, ask any judge that supports the programs and that we are trying to do, the alternative programs that we do. The judges have done a tremendous job. And when the comment was made about the drug program and the problem and how we're going to address it, those judges know there's not a policeman in this county that knows that I don't not only support every officer, and we all know we're all fighting the problem. We're all fighting the problem. But to misquote my words of what I'm trying to accomplish here with the drug problem and really, maintaining the maintenance in the operation of the jail, is it's something that I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of Sheriff Lane, because Sheriff Lane has carried on what we both developed, and the attitude of the inmates. I mean, the attitude of the jailers. We don't have a problem in jail, other than the fact that, unfortunately, because of the good law enforcement that we have in this county, the jail is full. Because and you know, somebody can make an argument that that's not a bad thing, because some people deserve to be in. They probably need to be in jail. But from the operational standpoint, I'm very proud of what we've accomplished there.
Okay, there are many more questions I wish we could ask, but I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you for viewing.